So it's my pleasure to introduce a colleague and a friend of mine and a mentor of mine, Dr. Tina Atkinson, the Chief Medical Officer for the Professional Women's League. With over 2 decades of experience, Dr. Atkinson is a nationally respected emergency medicine, sports medicine physician who has provided care for athletes at the provincial level, national level, and international level. Her career includes serving as the primary care sports medicine physician for the Halifax Mooseheads, longstanding roles with Hockey Canada's national women's program, culminating with a gold medal in the 2022 Winter Olympics, and her current role as Chief Medical Officer for Canoe Kayak Canada, most recently supporting their athletes at the 2024 Summer Olympics. A common thread throughout Dr. Atkinson's career is her commitment to advancing athlete health and safety at the highest level of the sport. In her role as CMO of the PWHL, she provides medical leadership for one of the fastest growing professional leagues in the world, hoping to set a new standard for women's professional sport. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Tina Atkinson.
Thanks, Alex. I'm just trying to make sure I don't know if you can see my slides. I can't see what you can see.
Yeah, so Tina, we can see your keynote if you want to just hit play maybe on the top of your screen.
Okay, great. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. It just doesn't, it looks like your presentation's not in presentation mode. We can just see the slide and then some of the formatting panel on the
Oh,
side.
okay. I can see it it looks like presentation mode on my end.
Oh, just kidding. You're good on the webinar.
Okay, great. So I'm here to discuss a couple of topics, but one thing I just wanted to focus on was my latest role, which is the Chief Medical Officer of the PWHL. So the PWHL is a professional women's hockey league. For those of you that don't know, we currently have 8 teams in our league. We started off with six, and in our inaugural six in 2023, and then we added two more teams this year. So I'm just going to give you a little background on how the league came to be and also just what we're trying to do as part of this league to elevate the standards and the care of female professional athletes, along with an exciting sort of partnership, kind of unofficial group that I'm part of that we're with the other female athlete professional leagues, as well as the USOPC. So just to give you some background, the PWHL is actually a unique professional league because it's a single entity ownership group. So the owners are the ownership group of the Dodgers, and you can see here on the screen that Billie Jean King is involved as well. We have a VP of Hockey Ops who's a 4 or 5 time Canadian Olympian, Jana Hefford, and a VP of Business Ops, which is Amy Shear, who had extensive experience in the WNBA in the past. So the PWHL was officially introduced in August of 2023, and puck drop was in January 2024. So we had approximately 5 months to build a league. I was actually hired in October of 2024. Oh, sorry, 2023. A little bit of background on how this league began. That about 5 years prior to the introduction of the league, Kendall Coyne Schofield, who's a U.S. Olympian female hockey player, approached Billie Jean King and asked for her help on trying to start a league. Billie Jean is part of the ownership group of the Dodgers, so she was able to help, and she got them in touch with the right people. They actually purchased a league that used to exist called the PHF, and then the PWHLPA was what had already been formed, and the PWHL was announced. Sort of historic for this type of league is they actually ratified their CBA before the league started. So the CBA already had certain medical requirements within that the players were very aware that they wanted and they knew would be really important for them, and they deserved to have that medical support in a new professional league. So they have signed on to own the league for 8 years. And then we're not sure what's going to happen, but we have been told we're going to expand again next year in the next 2 years, and we will eventually get to 12 teams before 2030. So as part of my role with this league is as the chief medical officer slash medical director. It was my job to help write the medical standards for the league and as well start to build that medical support in the medical department. So actually had help from Team USA's Dr. Ali Howe, the head therapist for Team USA, Katie Holman, and the head therapist for Canada, Christine Atkinson, who helped me. Four of us wrote the medical standards. It was based on our experience, what we knew should happen, based loosely on what the NHL already provided, and we had a lot of support from them as well. And also just things that we knew after working with our respective national teams that the players needed and deserved, and what really would make this a truly professional league that was going to succeed, and the medical support to go along with that. As a league, you can read this, but what we strive for is professionalism, gender equality, empowerment. I think what was lacking in the past was really that structure around the previous female professional hockey leagues and certainly the medical support. So it was really important to us that they were treated as professionals. We hear from them quite often that they don't want to be treated as minor hockey players. They want to be treated as professionals. About 40% of our league, 60 players or so, play for their national teams. So they're Olympians. They're very experienced. They've thrived in that national sport, integrated sport team environment. So that's what we wanted to build for them as part of this league. My background caring for junior hockey players here in Halifax, Nova Scotia, where I live. So I looked after a junior hockey team called the Halifax Mooseheads for 11 seasons. So junior hockey, these young men move away from home and they're billeted and they're between the ages of 16 and 20. I also have three sons who played hockey, so I experienced it on that side, the travel side of things. So what I did, what I wanted to avoid actually was having to cover games by myself, which I did for many years. I worked in Emerge for 9 years in the beginning of my career, as well as doing some family medicine. I covered games without paramedics, without another doctor there, by myself. So, we see a lot of severe injuries in junior hockey. As you can imagine, these are young men trying to get to the next level. A lot of them are drafted already, so their NHL team is involved and they kind of dictate some of the medical care. But you're responsible for taking care of them. So I was their team physician, which means I covered games, not every game. We did have other doctors who rotated, but I also took care of all of the rest of their medical. So anything from a cold to a severe MSK type of injury to concussion, you kind of manage it all. And so when we were building the league for the PWHL, I wanted to make sure that we had proper coverage at every game, and that included an emerge doc at every game, as well as a primary care team physician. So that was a standard, and I didn't get any pushback on that at all. Everybody agreed that was important, as well as paramedics with advanced care paramedics that can manage airway at every game. So that's what we started with, and that's in our medical standards. In addition to that, around the team, we have a sport dietitian, we have two athletic therapists. Some of the teams have one athletic therapist, one physical therapist. We have two strength and conditioning coaches, a massage therapist, a primary care team physician, like I said, and then all the other consultant physicians. One unique thing to this league is the players, some of them didn't have insurance for several years, so there were quite a few issues maybe they hadn't taken care of. They hadn't had well woman exams, they hadn't been to the doctor if they were a few years out of college, and in the US, not on their parents' plans. And in Canada, they wouldn't have had extra type of insurance that you need to, get your eyes checked, go to the dentist, that kind of thing. So we really did need to provide an environment where they could just get basic healthcare needs met as well. So, like I mentioned, I'm part of a group with the other female professional leagues, and the USOPC as well, who have done a lot of work in the female athlete space, determining what is unique and what female athletes need. I'm also part of a Canadian task force on female athletes, and we're doing the same, kind of trying to figure out what female athletes need. One big gap that we noticed right away is there wasn't really any comprehensive female athlete, especially professional female athlete pre-participation exam. And what I mean by that is obviously other leagues do pre-participation exams, but I couldn't find one that was a standard or a template or anything like that. So when I adapted the NHL PP and actually added some sections that would be applicable to female athletes. So questions about bone stress, breast health, menstrual health, eating, sort of screening around eating dysfunction, as well as mental health questions. And that is something that we, as part of the Prowess Consortium, we try to share best practices on that and work together to establish some standards that we think will have a trickle-down effect to all the way down to recreational leagues when you're trying to, take care of female athletes, even if they're not professional, and take care of all aspects of their health. So like I said, one of our main goals is to share sport medicine expertise to advance education and awareness. As we all know, there's very little specific female athlete research that's changing quickly, and I'm part of several groups who are working on that, and we're all trying to be connected so we can not duplicate the research. There's a group called GAFA, which is a global alliance for female athletes, and then other task force in each country, and working together to try to know what each other are doing. And then in the professional female sphere, trying to make sure that we are having those very high standards and making sure that the women have a voice, which in our league they certainly do with their CBA, to make sure that we're meeting their needs and meeting what they want as far as their medical care. We also want to establish optimal resources, elevate the standard of care, like I discussed. So, like I talked about, we've already established who we want covering our games, and that's why I think other people have talked about it at this conference today, that an ER and sport med trained physician is really in a unique position to be able to offer that standard of care. And I think especially for the sports that are high risk, collision sports that have already been discussed, I think it's the optimal type of training to be able to be a team physician if that's what you're interested in doing. Game coverage is one thing, but being a team physician is really something else that is not for everybody. But if you are interested in that, I think having those skills of emergency care and the sport medicine training is really essential. Some things that we've encountered, for instance, with female athletes that might be unique is their gear doesn't fit very well. So we get a lot of injuries, even though they wear a cage. We don't see as many facial lacerations, obviously. But we have injuries that are just because their gear slipped and it doesn't fit well. So that's one thing that we've certainly run into quite a bit. We also have some challenges in certain places where we first the cities where we have the teams, and then we do these other games called takeover tours. So we go to different cities that currently don't have a team. Most of them have an NHL team there, and we come into their building and we have a game. And we have run into some of the emergency folks, specifically EMS, who are not used to working with female athletes and have told us, for instance, that they don't want to open up and deal with the sports bra and do the first shock on ice. So, it's surprising to me that kind of still exists, but we work through that on a case by case basis, I would say, whenever we go into a new rink, and we try to tell them what our EAPs look like and what our expectation is, and then we sort of find out where they're coming from. There is quite a bit of difference sometimes in the way, just with like a scoop stretcher versus a regular stretcher in Canada versus the US. So we kind of roll with that and just figure it out in each arena. And now that we only have one arena, for instance, where we're the primary tenant, and that's in Vancouver, one of our new teams. So it's been challenging that way. As well, we have some issues around hotels. I know when I was with Team Canada, we would often get the comment that we didn't think that the girls were going to eat that much, so they would run out of food. So there's unique things like that that we deal with when we're traveling with female teams. And now that we have this the PWHL Professional Women's League. And I think it's all learning and hoping to fix that for the future so that future generations and other new leagues in different sports that are coming are beginning don't have to go through the same kind of issues that we have, and we can kind of work together on that. The third purpose of our Prowess Consortium is to just share best practices, really. And we really want to talk to make sure we're taking care of women throughout their lifespan. The other issue that the female professional athletes have is obviously sometimes fertility issues. Some of them want to look into egg retrieval, fertility. They want information and education on that. They also want to know, more information about their health when they retire. We have several athletes. We have one athlete in our league who I believe she's 40 or 41. We have several athletes in their late 30s. So that's a consideration as well. We want to make sure we take care of them that way. And we do some education sessions with them on that as well. Thank you. That's really all that I had to talk about. I'm certainly open for questions, and I'm going to stick around for the panel in a little bit. Thank you.